Boom, boom. Free all the nations. 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 Boom, boom. Round up. Free all the nations. Round up. Free all the nations. This is a song about being the perfect part of your idea when you close your eyes and feel the sun or the rain upon your head or the wind, anything and everything you can feel anywhere in your body or feel in your life, but just add a good dose of love to yourself, whatever that means to you. If that's a bad word, then just a sense of safety, an overpouring amount of protection that finally validates everything you knew was wrong and takes it all away. And you are fulfilling the greatest religion ever, in that the seeds of heaven lay in the earth, and the seeds of the earth lay in heaven. So your mother and father are sound in every way, and feed yourself that. And I call that roundup. And during my roundup today, I thought I can ask for things, and ask for the strength of my father and mother and all griefs to be relieved. My brothers and sister, even though they are my enemies, basically, just for that to be gone. And that's really the main thing, isn't it? And even if I were spared such generosity, but that it could be permanently made happy, my family, I would have it so. Please, Mother Earth, please, Father. And heaven is a good womb for the earth, isn't it? As much as it is a great and mighty seed. And is not the earth such a great and mighty womb also, and a great and mighty seed for heaven? And are we not all sound in the wonderful 4 dimensions of the holy law that I have been fortunate and been honored to be able to spell out for you today, in the hopes that YouTube won't delete my channel again? We have a rough relationship, YouTube and I, but I have a feeling we'll work it out. It's kind of like anal sex, but we can't figure out who's the pen and who's the cushion. It's leading to a lot of misunderstanding. Okay. Sounds remarkably violent. Hey, this is the branch I was using the other day. Thank you for that, by the way. Let's take you back. I can use you the next time I come out when it's raining. Use. We use things. You know? You don't want to be a user. You don't want to use people. It's an awful thing for someone to accuse you of using them. Oh, that's not nice, is it? Hopefully, that's an artifact of love going away. And if you're with someone, that love could have gone away, well, anytime. And it's cold there where love has gone away. And hard feelings grow. And bitterness. And it has a force. It's like a separate nuclear power plant in the brain, which the brain is well aware of in the development of the personality and all kinds of other things about how a person behaves. And whether they have the time to think about feelings or whether they're more of a doer, and how you kind of need both of us, the doers and the thinkers, right? And when I say thinkers, I don't mean they have the best thoughts. And when I say doers, I don't mean like a lot of people who do stuff really accomplish all that much. The doers and the thinkers have a range of competence. I'm somewhere sort of just above complete retard in the realm of thought. As I initiated my entire verbal career in life, I anointed all of my words to be nothing more than ant spit in the great deluge of cosmic being. And so, with modest aspirations, I have pursued the life of words. because I'm pretty much sure I know what this all comes to in the end, and yet I'm still willing to do it, which should tell you a lot about how delusional I'm really going to be to serve my fellow man. Because basically I could just be running a porn site and getting my welfare checks while living in the Caribbean, right? I could be doing that maybe. And be like having sex with a different teenage girl. Not that I would want to do that. By teenage I mean 18, 19. And I wouldn't want to do that, actually. It just sounds like something sexy. It's like, I think it's a thing that men are supposed to want. And it's like, why would you want to do that? They need a babysitter, not schlong stuck up there. I think there's definitely points in my life, luckily, like in my 20s and 30s, there were women, at least my own age, who were somewhat attractive, so I could masturbate, But, coffee shop aged women, and then, in my 40s, I've been caught up with enough. It's basically more like just getting assaulted by middle-aged women. That was pretty much been my love life. And then, so time to be creepy about teenagers never really kicked in, because although I've been propositioned by them, I didn't take it seriously, and I don't. But I just like, it doesn't really last. Like, it's like, oh wow, that feels so good. I can tell people that teenagers want to do me. It's like, that's really one for the record books there, man. Because you know what? Depending on the teenager, they would probably do anybody. And it's just talk. It's just exciting. It's like anything and everything until the fateful moment arrives, and it's like, do I really want this? And they bite onto your belt. I'm sorry. That was bad. See what I did there? See, you gotta be responsible with words. I think I've never had sex, so the idea of penetrating a woman's vagina is really quite momentous to me. It should be something like Battlestar Galactica and that ship from the black hole, and Maximilian's running around the ship trying to kill people. I'm just like, I'm going for the black hole. It's like the ultimate redneck. I'm sorry. And I attribute to rednecks great intelligence, and the engineering of this world is basically mostly supplied by the flesh and blood of rednecks, probably. And because I think we, as a white people, or rednecks, if you cast a wide net, are kind of fucked up. We have families where people fuck their sisters and shit. We have white mothers who will fuck 12-year-old boys that your son brings home. It's just, that's what apparently we do. Not me, but white people, white men, redneck families, We all like to think we're not redneck, but basically we are. People who have gone camping. People who've ever had a trailer, even just to camp in. Maybe that thing that you just attach that you have to puff up when you get there, and a couple propane tanks. I mean, it's just, you may not know this, but there are people in the world that would never do that. Now, I know camping's great. Even the Brady Bunch did it. The guys on Silver Spoons did it. But it is a lower class thing to do. Even the motel, the invariable motels at Disneyland, Some families can avoid the hotel package, the Disney hotel, which, it all goes by so quickly. I would teach my children, like, a cheap motel is worth two in the bush. And they would understand right from the beginning. A cheap motel is worth two in the bush. And they're like, you're abusive. It's like, no. It's because a cheap motel is worth two in the bush. You got to keep repeating it. It makes sense eventually. Just to keep repeating it until it makes sense. Yes, do that, please. Keep repeating it until it makes complete sense. Cheap motel's worth two in the bush. I stayed in a cheap motel and my family went to Disneyland. And it didn't really matter. I mean, one motel, and there's people that probably don't stay in motels, but once you stay in one or two, they're all the same. I mean, they're pretty basic. Bed, some kind of dresser, maybe a table, lamp, Gideon's Bible, remote control, and a list of possible porn choices. That's what the eyes go to. You know, maybe some kind of espresso machine in the morning if you're lucky. There's probably a Starbucks a block away or right underneath you. And, you know, it's just nice at that point to have somewhere to sleep. That's not your own bed. Because that way you can roll around in the remaining bits of biological material that are stored on the sheets. No matter how much you try to clean them, they smell fresh, but you know they're not. That's the beauty. It's like the casino. You know, it feels like there's a lot of fresh air in there, but it's like, it's not really air, it's just oxygen. Oxygen isn't air. It kind of gives you a euphoric feeling, and it's kind of a poison, you know. It's like the opposite of anoxia. You know, too much oxygen is like anything, it's like not enough. You know, because we really need air. Right? Air isn't just oxygen. Now, of course, in an emergency, you can give people oxygen, that's true. But my understanding is that, you know, just pure oxygen is not really the best thing for human beings. I'm not a doctor, but I'm guessing. You know where I really understood that from is from talking to people who give sick people oxygen chambers. They live in, this is like, I kind of did a little research in the nature of oxygen. It's like, interesting. I think it's part of the reason people get jet lag is that they're pumping and recycling oxygen in the airplanes, which is poison, basically. It gives you a sense of euphoria, which is like if you were at home eating an airplane meal. Like if I came home from a day like today and you gave me a meal from economy, right? Or stuck me into a plane that just had fresh air in it, you would not want to sit there. I think it drugs people, like casinos, right? The airplane is like a casino. The idea of the Mile High Club is getting to do things up there that you wouldn't normally do anywhere else, which means what? Lowering inhibitions. So your inhibitions are lowered when you're on an airplane. I mean, in a way, it kind of makes sense. You're getting onto a bucket of balls made by the lowest bidder. In fact, a round robin of lowest bidders that are brought together by an algorithm invented alongside the nuclear bomb. So, combined with actuaries that are used to dole out so-called medical prescriptions and advice all over the world to faithful recipients of so-called advanced medical knowledge for profit. So, I don't fly. I saw a fly today and I started hearing some music and I told my mom, I said, it's good to have a fly around the house because they see things, and I thought that could sound menacing, but it's like the spirit of seeing, the spirit of hearing, the spirit of perception. Just really allowing yourself. I was dealing with this stalker for a few days and I thought, the sun was kind of saying to me, Landon, the only thing you're fit to be judged by is the sun. Go ahead, judge me, because the greatest judge is the sun. The sun judges me every day. You know? There we go. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling a lot stronger than I started off. I've smoked a ton of weed, but I feel great. I'm finally relaxing. I'm going to a peaceful house. Show my mom that I can be happy. You know, I have to be happy for her. And so I don't want to tell her sad stories. She's had enough. I tried to swear off them years ago, and I was like, talk about things. It's like, ugh. I know you're supposed to talk about things. You're supposed to want to. My mom doesn't want to hear it. And I'm kind of starting to respect that. I want her to be happy. She deserves it. Her life has been dealing with rape. I mean, she deserves time off for good behavior. My mom has gone the distance, and she can live long if I acknowledge her. To know that she lives to 98 or 105, and she gets to be proud of herself, and just feels an increasing sense of warmth about who she is and what she's accomplished, that can stay her against the rather cold rebuffs and lovelessness of her children, and still understand where it comes from, but just start to love herself, start to acknowledge where she comes from, and her happiness will be our happiness. Mother, your happiness is my happiness. Whatever makes you happy. Like, I thought years past, like, if you're moving through a multi-dimensional environment of sheer oblivion in infinite directions for infinite miles, and you had to steer by one thing, why not steer by increasing happiness? Not always satisfaction. Like, make happiness kind of the goal, like a ship a captain of a mighty ship, an admiral of a mighty fleet, an armada. Be as ambitious as you like, that represents your body in sacred attunement with whatever destiny you would call your own, whatever purpose in life, however practical or impractical it may seem to you, me, or anyone else, or everyone else, and how you would dole out your happiness or your direction in any direction, because every instinct in every sense wants you to be happy. Every ship in your flotilla, every beam in your hull, every growing bit of wood on this earth that would serve as the hull of your ship, or the whole of it, in the rondure of east and west and north and south, and how sacred that ship grows with whatever direction could bring you happiness. Here, there. Maybe you don't go in a direction that other people would go, but you're sailing for happiness. The challenge is, of course, it has to be yours. And it's not just carved out by all the slices of relationship and work and discipline and volunteer service and masturbation and cleaning your house to some degree and maintaining certain standards here, here, and here, and the discipline of it all, from which many good things can come. But that is not the whole of it. It's also what you've done your entire life, whether you work hard or not, in these terms or those. Everyone has worked harder than most will ever recognize. And to take a moment, to like a holiday, to recognize beyond all our enemies the absolute stupendous, unacknowledged labors of mankind. Oh, hi. 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 Oh, hi. They're very friendly.
They're sweet, yeah.
Yeah. I'll go up here. Yeah. So, a couple dogs came in. Yeah. You don't hardly see people here. See, I'm feeling better. You know? Pretty lady. I didn't look at her too closely. She seemed of a modest origin. I understand him. Strange man on the trail. At least she was nice about it. She's just nicely shy. Vulnerable, gentle, strong. Like the otter. That's the way a woman should be. Like the porcupine, in a sense, like friendly, but not too friendly. Only your enemy if you provoke it. Don't provoke them, right? Ready to be friend, but don't cross them. It's a good energy. That's natural woman energy. She has that. It's nice to see. My bum hurts. It's gonna hurt when I get into the tub today. Is there a person down there? Ah, it's so nice to see blue sky. Ah, all right, heaven. Let's go home. My days should be happier. Linked one to one. So going in the direction of happiness. That's where I want my body to go. So I started today thinking about lumber, trees, wood, ships, shipbuilding, ship navigation, the growth nature of the body, and the psychological imperatives which we own in our words and feelings throughout our entire life, that we want to live long and be strong and deal with challenges, have those around us be strong too, and acknowledging that men make sacrifices. They sacrifice their lives. We sustain mortification from women. We do, right? And maybe humans just have to take a piece out of each other. But I think there's enough people trying to get a piece out of us people. We need not to take pieces out of each other. Not too much, you know. Give that a bit of a rest. If I may be so bold. And here I feel as though I'm risking the arrogance of talking to the human race. Don't you think humans need to be talked to? Haven't you ever wanted to talk to the human race? Hello, human race. HR. This is Landon here. You probably can't hear me or anything, but maybe I'm just one of the million trillion voices out there. Tiny little drops of rain against your windshield, making your day a little more dreary perhaps, and you don't think it cares much about your life, but at least it's predictable and wet, unlike some things. Okay. Anyway, I'm not sure where that's going. But, hello, and don't worry, you're not crazy if you can hear this, but I do speak through various dimensions inside your mind. My sounds have been cleared of all viruses. Relax, human race. I need you to not remove stress. That's also dangerous. Keep all your stress right there. Just hold it between your butt cheeks. Just feel it. It's okay. No one's going to penetrate you. You are guarded at every level. Feel your anus opening and closing like the rising and setting of a Neptunian moon. And you're on the Neptune moon, spinning around Neptune. You're like, whoa, we're right close to Uranus. That's right. You're spinning around Uranus. And everything is just spinning around. Spinning. I'm like the worst psychiatrist in human history. It's like, excuse me, doctor. Oh, yes. I love it when they call me doctor. There's a phone from the FDA, the FBI, the CIA, and someone calling himself Landon. Oh, he's telling you to stop. They all are. It's like an alphabet soup of stop now. Please, we have to listen to you. I sometimes like to think over the episode when I'm really being silly that there is someone who's forced to listen to me, to scan through every second of my data to see if there's any loose wires. And this is as far as my mind has to go to imagine that anyone would listen. I met a lovely Jewish man, and I had an 8-hour tape called The Golden Conversation, which was my student film. That, by the way, wasn't for any class. I just stopped going to class and made this 8-hour-long film by, I don't want to oversimplify it, but taking a camera, VHS camera that I bought, the only real job I ever had, crying into the soil in large tracts of raspberry country, probably near where my mom grew up, just crying, waiting for my mom to pick me up, and of course a farmer who hates the guy he hired with subsidized wages from the government. And I'm sorry to Mr. Federer, I was useless. You were patient, I am weak, and you were strong. But I did get my camera, and I attached it to my mom's too at a two-cell, and I drove around Vancouver and surrounding areas and had the time of my life. I remember sitting up at the Vancouver court building, I had a hat, and I ended up dubbing over some kind of Pearl Jam song, and it just had me sitting there smoking a cigarette. I traveled all those miles to set up a tripod and just stand there and smoke a cigarette. Like, that's how artistic I was. And it's like, don't worry, it'll look good in the end. You know? And there was literally nothing to it. And this lovely Jewish man watched all 8 hours of it, told me it was fantastic, and gave me a Shiva Lingam, which is a huge Indian stone that represents male fertility. And he told me, he said, the only thing you're lacking in life, Landon, is self-image. You need to improve your self-image. You have everything going for you. You know, this lovely Jewish man, you have everything going for you. You have nothing wrong with you. Because I had been told that something was wrong with me by abusive family, right? You have nothing wrong with you. You just need to improve your self-image. And I thought, great. This is how I think. Like, who needs a self-image? I'm set. You know? And that's pretty much how I took it. I was like, well, that's all very nice. It's like telling you some guy that's driving around in a Toyota Tucson making a film that really no one would ever want to watch. All you need is your own penis. It's like, no, that's not quite right. All you need is a job. It's like, oh, who needs that? I just want to say thank you to that man, Larry. I can't remember his last name. It's not Cohen. It might come to me. My mom knew him. I guess he was a friend of hers for a while before she left. Here I am talking to my mom's old, not quite boyfriend, Larry, and he's eating a plate of what looked to be a fairly unappetizing pile of ground beef that probably should have just been fed to a dog to honor the cow that went to make it. But and he's shoveling into his mouth and talking to me. But he never said anything negative to me. Usually older men, I spend time with them, they're kind of weird. But not Larry. I kind of thought maybe his wife thought he was a sociopath. And certainly he had gotten through life by shutting down his feelings a little bit. He had, rubbed shoulders with a few mafia here and there. And I think sometimes older men just like to say that, but I don't think he was a mafia-like guy. They learned to be, I don't know, he traveled around. He lived probably in New York for a while and had a place down south in the States. But, a lot of men have more experience than me in the world. I like it when they don't hold it over me. Like don't be a colonist. Don't meet someone who's simple or naive and then treat them like they're just simple and naive. Because really, what are you really saying about yourself? No matter how well-traveled you think you are, right? So being well-traveled is not about holding it against people. And when people hold things against other people, it's like they've never really done anything. Yeah, Larry, thanks. I had that Shiva Lingam for years, and then eventually, I think I left it in the forest at the last place I lived in Salt Spring. It's probably still there. Something I just left. I never just realized that now. I forgot all about it. And I had gone through a lot there, like sexual abuse, rape, and I left it in the forest to sit. I wonder if anyone will ever find it. Well, they did. They found quite a thing, haven't they? And it's good to let nature have it back. I hope it's grown over with green things. It's thinking about me right now, and just the trees there, just saying, hey, I like having pleasant thoughts for my life. I had so many nice times. In fact, if I went there, I could tell you not where I masturbated, where I meditated. And I probably left it there somewhere. Thank you. The sociopathic woman I had been living with, and I left with from that cabin, under strange circumstances, she wouldn't even let me really say goodbye. She was so dominant, so controlling. And so I had my heart leapt a few times there in beautiful ways. I think in a way, like people who are very spiritual or think they are and run cults and stuff, they're so preoccupied that it can give you a kind of peace. Like I found Scientology peaceful because it kind of leaves you alone in a really charming way. It's like school, right? If you like school, it kind of left you alone in a really charming way. And so I had jobs, when I had a few jobs, it kind of left me alone in a really charming way. I like to be left alone, obviously, to do things. And then it's like, I like being left alone. Like, best part of my day was leaving school and coming home, and I'm left alone. So if you're around people in a cult-like sense, you get left alone a lot, but you can't maintain relationships with them. So I had some nice times. I had some times in nature, got some interesting experiences in art, inspiration. But yeah, the people around me, like everyone who came in and out of that cabin, were completely evil or infested by some kind of sex-based poison, for sure, undoubtedly. It's like everything from the top down. There was nothing good really running through that place, except maybe me. And what a lovely day. And it's like something came out of years of shock, recovery, that and many other things, is never let anyone in your life that you wouldn't have let into your life when you were 5 years old, who you wouldn't trust with the 5-year-old part of your mind, which is powerful and wonderful. Forget religion. Like I said with Roundup, bring the 5-year-old part of your mind. Bring the 5-year-old part of your mind. No one's allowed around that unless you let them. Right? And so if people are around psychopaths all the time, how can your inner child ever come out? Okay? Would your inner child want to be around the people you spend time with? Always? And that doesn't mean they're bad. I mean, I'm sure most people's inner child wouldn't want to spend too much time with me, but it's nice to think that sometimes I would be worthy of at least the company of myself and maybe my mother when she was a child, and to meet her. I'd like to meet my mom when she was like 9 or 10, maybe 15, starting to develop. Wow, my mom was hot. I bet she was very attractive. You know that? I mean, My mom doesn't have really a lot of photos from when she was young, but I don't like photos, I abhor them, and I think my mom has always been a very attractive. My mom came out of the bathroom from dressing today, and he said, "You look lovely," you know that? I tell her she looks lovely. You know? I'm nice to her. You know what? I mean it. That's the damn thing about it. You look beautiful, Mom. I want her to feel beautiful. I'm there for her, you know? I'm helpful. I help her find her way. I want to be her guide. You know? And if my mom ever passes away, I will be going into retreat and guiding her as much as I can. And maybe getting a little guidance myself along the way. For sure, absolutely. And it won't be a lot of work. It'll be the most joyful work I ever do. It'll be no work at all. It's be the purpose of my life to guide my mother through her life to the next place. She deserved someone like that. She deserved to know a sun and moon and stars that would always walk with her and never let her be alone, and always protect her and always answer to her words, because the heavens and the earth are supposed to protect you, and they answer to your voice, they answer to your spirit. And do not be afraid to use your voice in a wild place, to talk to yourself. You're not talking to yourself, you're talking with yourself, and you can't be yourself unless you use the voice of your spirit. And it connects the heavens and the earth, the heavens which are like the seed in the womb of the earth, that is like the seed and womb of heaven, and that is the 4x4. Those are the true dimensions of electricity and power. All chemicals, so-called, have an electrical component, because they all represent thresholds between heaven and earth, and the electric nature of the development of all physical matter. But the periodic table can also be used to control. And the way science articulates things puts a control on the dimensions of creation, which is always putting a commensurate control on our voices, because our voices, like the raven, are all about creation. They're all about reality. Reality is filled with our voices. You need to be in touch with reality like the roots of the tree. You need to be in touch with the stars. Like Christians say you have to be in touch with the Bible, or Jews say you have to be in touch with the Torah, and everything people touch to be in touch with what they need to be in touch with. In any way throughout all time. To be in touch with the force dynamics of creation, and the creation of new flesh, of heaven and earth alike, and the true nature of the soundness of your mother and father. That he was of the seed of heaven planted in the earth. She also bore seed, though planted in the earth, to become the beautiful woman that the earth is. And heaven became the earth, and the earth became a heaven. And when the heaven can become the earth again, the earth will be a heaven again. And we must allow growth and force and the nature of reality and systems and signals of signs that can be developed by individuals with their own voices to help change all of the science of the world with our voice, and to make it sound. To make it sound. We have the voice of the sun inside of us. Don't let them stop you with their standards of signs and measures and weights and everything nice, except that it doesn't include the nature of the voice, the anxieties, the agonies, the truths, the honesties, the flesh and blood gory realities of human development. How much it's stymied by the cosmological or anthropic way that we are reduced to thinking about the value of our flesh and blood and the sounding forth of the hull of our ship, you know, among all the wonderful creatures and sounds and colors of creation. Caterpillar, thank you, you've been a good friend to me the last few days.